but news coming in from Parliament. About 20 majority MPs have addressed the press calling for the Finance Minister, Ken Oforiatta, to be sacked. The MPs say they speak for majority of the NPP MPs, and they say if the President doesn't sack the Finance Minister and his Minister of State at the office, they will not help approve the 2022 budget. Kweku Asante has more.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah, so Kweku Asante, can you please give us more details of this presser?
So, ma'am, it was an emergency press conference that was organized hurriedly by NPP MPs. We were not too clear what exactly they were coming to discuss. But just when they came in, they were all signing on to a certain piece of paper. The information they've just released, and they say they are speaking for a majority of the majority NPP MPs, and they are totaling about 80. They are calling for the sack of Finance Minister Ken Oforiatta, as well as the Minister of State at the Finance Ministry, the person of Honorable Charles Edibwanye. They say that these two persons have mismanaged the economy, they've abysmally performed, and they should be dismissed. Without this, the 2022 budget will not be approved, and that they will not also participate in any government business whatsoever in the House. And so they are sending a warning, a clear message to the President to take this decision immediately in the betterment of the country, without which they will not participate in any government business.
And then, can you just give us a few names of these MPs?
So these are very senior MPs who just addressed the press conference. You have House Committee Chairman Dr. Fiayu. You have Deputy Minister for Trade Industry Carlos Ahinkra. We have the chairperson of the Government Assurance Committee also here. We also have other committees in local government. And I'm a very, very senior members of Parliament, including people who were previously ministers or previously deputy ministers who are coming up. The list is now trickling in. About 20 of them addressed the new conference. You see, they are speaking for at least 80. If they are speaking for 80, that is an overwhelming majority of NPP MPs who are in the House. And so the names will keep coming up, and we will be looking for to see some of the names coming up. But they say that they are speaking for the majority of MPs and people who are concerned that Finance Minister Ken Oforiatta is completely mismanaging the economy, and he should be dismissed with immediate effect, failing which government business will storm in the House. This is a big break because over the past years and over the past 6 months, the NPP MPs have been supporting Finance Minister Ken Oforiatta. Indeed, whenever the minority MPs moved the motion for censure, was clearly opposed by the majority MPs who said Finance Minister Ken Oforiatta must stay. So for 80 NPP MPs to now come together to say that the Finance Minister must move, it's a clean break from the past where we've seen them offering unalloyed support. What we do not know now is whether or not the top echelon of the Least Patriotic Party in Parliament, that is the majority leader and executives among other things, are in support of this. We don't know that as of yet. All we know is that this run deep into the caucus, who are dissatisfied with the performance. They are afraid this will lead to terrible consequences for the party in 2024, and he must leave now.
Kweku, before I let you go, who addressed the press conference?
So the press conference was addressed by one of the senior NPP MPs, the Honorable Andy Apia Kubi, with the MP for Asante Asimov. You know, the NPP stronghold of the Asante region is one of the leading points in Parliament when it comes to NPP, the Asante region. And so when he was said to be the one addressing the press conference, people were a bit surprised that he, as a leading member of the party in Parliament, will be the one leading set of issues against Finance Minister Ken Oforiatta and against the government of President Ken Oforiatta.
Kweku, your sound is a bit terrible, but how is the mood in the House like after this presser?
So it's a bit tense here. This is the first of Parliament after a number of weeks, a number of months actually having been on break. And so it was expected that these stories do not come around such issues. It takes some time before some of these issues are discussed. And so for MPs to zoom right into this discussion, it's becoming to be like, this is what this meeting of Parliament will be defined. This is what these things will be defined about. You know, just next month, about around 18th November or so, Finance Minister Ken Oforiatta, if the President decides to maintain him, who is presenting the budget to MPs in the House. It is not clear yet the kind of conversation that will be going through. We don't know yet how the minority MPs who have already been on a crusade to their finance minister who will be reacting to this. But the mood in the house is tense. People are surprised by this coming up, and within the course of the day, we're going to get more development.
All right, so this was the first day of sitting, Kwekwa Santi. What was the actual plan, the original plan for the House before this presser happened?
So we've not seen yet the order of the House.
Okay.
Normally the order before will decide what's going to go on. But usually for such a first day, we expect that the Speaker of Parliament to give an opening remark. We also know that this meeting of Parliament is expected to be dominated by matters regarding Sarah Dwapa. She gets to keep her seat. You know, during the last meeting, the Speaker of Parliament deferred the decision to today. Now, we don't know if this is going to be put on hold for now because this matter is not coming up. But this particular press conference, I should say, it's having a propensity of throwing Parliament business out of gear, out of sync, because a lot of things that are now going to happen will probably be moving around it. Whether or not the new patriotic party, the leadership, as well as the president and the leadership in Parliament, are going to try and rally some of these MPs to think that, listen, let's try and work together. Let's try and work together. It will be very interesting in the coming days to see how this matter is resolved and whether or not President Party will lead to their call to dismiss Ken Ofori-Atta, the Minister of State at the Finance Ministry, Mr. Boy.
Parliamentary correspondent Kwekwa Santi, they're giving us an update of a presser held by about 80 majority MPs who want the finance minister sacked. And they say they speak for majority of the NPP MPs. And if the president doesn't sack the finance minister and his minister of state at the office, they will not help approve the 2022 budget. But joining me for this conversation is Draman Rashid. Draman, good morning and thank you so much for your time. So I'll come to you in a second. I just want us to take a look at that presser.
And their respective commercial banks to import products. So those are the two key issues that I'm asking government to look at. One, on how Forex has been traded between commercial banks and the central banks and to the general public. And to reconcile what importers have also done with regards to the import certificates they've received, the customs declaration forms, and the forex that they got from their respective banks. That is on the economy. I know that Parliament has resumed. There'll be the budget. This year we haven't received anything with regards to common fund. It's going to be a major issue that I believe most of us will be concerned with. The assemblies are crying. The assemblies want releases for development. It cannot be that the assemblies haven't been paid their common fund for some time. As a concerned member of Parliament representing the good people of Okaigwe Central, I've had discussions with my MC. Their IGF or their internally generated fund is bleeding. It cannot sustain the assemblies. And they cannot undertake major projects that is dear to their heart in their respective district, metropolitan and municipal assemblies. So those are the three things that I'm speaking to you about. If you have any question, please go ahead, my good friend, Eugene. Very well. I think it's long overdue. People are asking for that. Bank had been very firm on treasurers of the commercial banks. Wouldn't have gotten to this level. We know we have friends who work in the banks. Officers of the banks are given currency to trade with or work with. How are they able to account for them? At what rate are they asked to trade with those currencies? How much do they sell them to black market people? You can go to a bank, then they will tell you, as for we commercial banks, we don't have foreign exchange, but we can call somebody from outside to bring you foreign exchange. How did they get to know that some man somewhere has foreign exchange? How did they get to know? So it's as a result of weak supervision from the central bank on the commercial banks that has given them the opportunity to have access to black market dealers. Of course, there are also business people who would want to make money. So if you give me $10,000 to trade with at 8 cedis to $1, and I, as an officer of the bank, sells it to a black market dealer at 12 cedis, they've made profit on the $10,000. The black market operator will also go to the black market and trade it off at 13 Ghana cedis. Then speculation becomes rife, and that is what is happening to our economy. The second issue is about imports. Whether they are using the forex that they state on their import license to bring in the required goods and at that rate. So those are, well, I believe it's a late call on their part for that meeting, but we thought that should have taken place a long time ago.
And you also know the government is trying to make some concessions with the Ghana Union of Business as far as the forex, so isn't that also another
well, Guta is closing down shops in and around country, Kumasi, Accra. Yes, GRA may have issues, but I believe that they have to sit down with Guta to address those challenges. You understand? They must see themselves as partners in the revenue drive, revenue generation drive, but not as adversaries. So I believe they must sit down to deal with it. Yes, please. Well, the economic management team always meets. They always meet. So this is not the first time. It's the expectation of every Ghanaian that measures are put in place to save our currency and to speed up economic growth. You understand? Somebody got a contract for 5 million cedis. Maybe at the time the cedi was 1 cedi to the 6 cedis to the dollar. Now the cedi is around 15 cedis to the dollar. You can do your own mathematics. The person, without having set foot on the site, would have lost money. And I'm sure that is what we are asking government to support. We are concerned members of our party, and everything that affects the citizenry, it must be of utmost concern to us. Not because we are MPP and we are in government, we shouldn't talk about things that affect the country. No, Boama will not do that. I believe majority of MPP members are not in agreement with how things are panning out with regards to the state of our economy. We must be honest. If the country is good, it's good for all of us. If the currency becomes stronger, all the better. So we're asking government, as a matter of urgency, to put in place the right measures to restore the value of our currency.
So on that, do you support the policy of the for the removal of finance?
Was that a call or was that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Even on the budget, we will support 2023.
There was a reason.
Yes, 1%. Present issues.
Okay, my understanding is that some issues have been laid before the president to address, failing which some majority members are asking for the removal of the finance minister. Was that and the Minister of State. I wasn't at the press briefing, so I'm asking for clarification. Yes, it's a good call that as a concerned majority, we want our government to succeed. So if, for example, common has not been released and is affecting the performance of MPs and MMDCs who are appointed by the president, then steps ought to be taken. We need to hear from our finance minister, we need to hear from the president on steps that are being taken. Because when it comes to the removal of a minister, the Constitution says you need 2/3 of members present and voting, and it's by secret ballot. From the way things are, you cannot guarantee it. You cannot. So I don't think it's in the interest of our side of government to remove our minister. But when push comes to shove, to save the party, the government that we are asking to break the eight, which I don't believe in, I believe in winning successive elections. We are not here to win 2 elections and say we are breaking the eight. No. I believe, you have to quote me well, I believe in winning successive elections. 8 is just too small. So whatever it takes for the government to put in place the right measures, if it requires removing all the cabinet ministers and setting up a new government, we will support it. If that is what will win us successive elections, we support it.
That is Patrick Yabwama, who's an MP of Okaikwe Central, and he's speaking on the dollar CD rate. He also touched a bit on the black market operators, the Guta strike action. And he's also asking governments to put in place measures to restore the currency. And he believes that it's a good call that the majority MPs are asking the president to sack the finance minister. He's asking the president to save the economy, to save the currency, and to save the country. Joining me for this conversation is Dr. Rashid Draman, who is Executive Director at the African Center for Excellence. Dr. Draman, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. So, I mean, what do you make of this? This is the first sitting in 3 months, and already 80 of the majority MPs are calling for the finance minister to be sacked. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I'm really very excited that this is not coming from the minority side, but it's coming from within. You know, just earlier this morning, I was on your show, and I was saying that, look, for their own self-preservation, and then for the preservation of our democracy and our economy. Nobody, no MP this time around should play politics with economic issues when they come before the House.
Yeah.
And I am very happy that we are hearing these calls, because I think in the whole republic, I believe almost everybody is in agreement that the person who is managing this economy has not done a good job, except the president, because we have had the president give a passing grade to the minister when almost everybody in Ghana, if you take your microphone out right now, I think almost everyone that you talk to would say, you know, those managing our economy should give way to new hands.
Yeah.
And I believe what we are hearing from the honorable members, I think is the right thing to do at this time, at this critical moment in the history of our country.
Doc, what would you like to hear from the president when he finally addresses the nation?
Well, I think what I would like to hear from the president when he finally addresses the nation is to listen to what the majority of our compatriots are saying. You know, we saw what happened in the UK recently. You know, the drama is still unfolding. But, you know, as soon as those responsible realize that, you know, this is getting out of hand, they said, well, we cannot deal with this. Let's give way and let somebody else come and see what they can do. Granted, our system is not like their system. But I believe that if the president wants to preserve his job, if the president wants to protect our democracy as he swore to do under the Constitution, I think he has to listen to the people of this country. And I believe, I mean, the calls are becoming louder and louder. Now that it's coming from within, I think that this is the time to act.
All right, Dr. Rashid Draman is Executive Director for African Center for Parliamentary Affairs, and he believes that it's now time for the President to act for the preservation of our country and economy, and he's happy that the call is coming from inside, from the majority instead of the minority. Joining me also in studio is Raymond Aqua, who is head of the research desk. Same question I posed to Dr. Draman. 3 months recess. the first sitting, majority, 80 of majority MPs are saying that they want the finance minister to be sacked. What does this say?
First, you should know that within the last few months, a lot more people within the NPP have actually been having different conversations about the state of the economy. And in the last few weeks, you would have heard people who have been loyal to the party for a very long time, in start with, be it Facebook posts and other things, clearly stating some of these things. Some of these members of parliament, let's not get it wrong, it was in the last, engagement of the parliament, that we heard Ashanti MPs insisting that after what happened to the majority leader and after what happened somewhere in the region, people taking on their MPs and insisting that the urgently needed development, there was almost always a clear-cut indication that within the NPP itself, people are becoming increasingly unhappy with what was happening. What is dramatic about this is the number, the sheer number, because we knew that some of the MPs were really not in support of the actions of the finance minister. In fact, on the occasions the finance minister had failed to appear in parliament when they invited him, some of the MPs, even on the majority side, had difficulties with his conduct. So it was clear. But to have about 60%, and out of the 137 of the MPs on the majority side, about 60% of them deciding, this is 80, about 60% of them deciding that we are all going to support his removal if he fails to do what is required, what is urgent, and what's needed now. And they're not only saying the finance minister, they're also talking about the minister of state in the finance ministry, who was the caretaker minister when the finance minister was not around during his days that he was not well. It is phenomenal. In fact, my understanding of parliamentary history, I've not seen a single time where this huge number have come out to say that our own cannot be in parliament. In fact, during the time of Liman, there were some MPs, even on the side, who were not happy with his conduct. Some actually decided that we vote against it or we're not going to be present in the House for the voting. But to have this press conference being done in the Fourth Republic, that's how monumental this is. Would he take a cue from that? Would the president take a cue from that? You know, the president has been consistently defending the minister in all of his forms. What is also being suggested here is because, let's check it out a few days, you've seen the statement from Occupy Ghana, asking the president to take the lead and act. There's also a statement from the Alliance for Accountable Governance, which has been, and AFA is affiliated to the New Patriotic Party. Almost like a pressure group within the party that's fought for its engagement in times past. This group also came out to say that we needed the minister and the minister of state in the finance ministry being reassigned to a different ministry if the president doesn't want to sack them. So the calls are growing by the day. People ordinarily would have expected to stay out of the main political frame or not make comments like this, are also joining. As to whether the president will ignore the 80 of his own men in his own parliament, the people who decide his policies, the people who have to consistently vote for those policies and also engage the finance minister, as to whether the president can ignore them, because it's obvious the finance minister in and of himself will not be able to or is not willing to resign. As to whether the president is going to ignore this number depends on the pressures that will continue from today. As to whether this front of 80 will also be broken. Because ideally, I'm sure there will be negotiations. One of the things that the MPs have also said is their common fund, which is part of the District Assembly's common fund. And the complaints about that not being released and erratic release of that amount of money over the period. That's all compounded into the kind of pressure they are mounting on the finance minister at this time.
Okay, Raymond, stay with me because joining me on the line is Franklin Kujo, who's the president of Imani Africa. Mr. Kujo, thank you so much for your time.
It's a pleasure this morning.
Now, did you see this coming, that majority of the MPs would call for finance minister to be sacked?
Well, I didn't see that coming, but it sounds as if it's some refreshing news. Refreshing in the sense that it would have... It definitely would mean that our politics seems to have matured. But before I go ahead, though, I mean, I do not know whether the 80 strong members who made this call have the blessings of the majority leadership. If they don't, which I suspect if they don't, then we are really in troubling times. I mean, it would mean that the leadership may have lost its hold on its own. So it's really troubling, but I'm not entirely surprised because, as I suspect, everybody is feeling the pinch, and I think that
anything that falls short of the party seeing red in the next election would be the only reason why this is being championed by a section of the majority side. But 80 is a strong number, really. That's a very strong number. If indeed all these 80 have appended their signatures to the call, it will be difficult to ignore.
Mr. Kujo, now as a citizenry, what should be our reaction? Should we be happy at the outcomes? Should we be frustrated? What should be our reaction?
Well, I'm not too sure we should be happy. I think we should be worried. Worried that there doesn't seem to be any concerted effort at addressing the issues. Indeed, there seems to be no plan at all. And that is what the leadership is communicating to their citizens. I mean, this coming on the back of the president planning to speak to the nation somewhere over the weekend. Someone would have asked, why not earlier? But it looks as if everything is in disarray. And this may be the clearest indication yet that things have really gotten to, matters have reached the height of reaching. There may be no turning back, because these people represent a strong section of the party. And if 80 MPs are saying the finance minister should go, that can be difficult to ignore.
80 majority MPs are saying that the finance minister must go. What difference will it make? Will it change our economic woes?
Well, I mean, I'm not too sure it will change anything within the interim, but it might give certain hope. And of course, it depends on who is coming to him, assuming the president listens to the courts, really. But it will send several shivers down the spine of the market watchers and market participants. And our troubles may just compound for a little while.
Yeah.
Such a substantive replacement is made. That is assuming the president listens to the courts.
Franklin Kujo, who's the president of Imani Africa, thank you so much for your time. Now, let's take a look at that news conference addressed by Andy Appiah-Kubu, who's the Asante Achim North MP.
Good morning. We are members of the majority caucus of the Parliament of Ghana, and we here so present a greater number of the said caucus. My name is Andy Appiah-Kubu, and I am only here as spokesperson for the majority group, without more. We have had occasions to defend allegations of conflict of interest, lack of confidence, trust against the leadership of our finance ministry. The recent developments within our economy are of great concern to the greater majority of members of our caucus and our constituents. We have made our grave concern to the president through the parliamentary leadership and the leadership of the party without any positive response. We are by this medium communicating our strong desire that the president change the Minister of Finance and the Minister of State in the Finance Ministry without further delay in order to restore hope into the financial sector and reverse the downward trend in the growth of the economy. The summary of our concerns leads to a plea We pray that this prayer will be carried to the presidency. We thank you very much for showing concern to us. Meanwhile, we want to serve notice, and notice is hereby served, that until such persons as aforementioned are made to resign or removed from office, we, members of the majority caucus here in Parliament, will not participate in any business of government by or for the president by any other minister. We hope that those of us of the backbench and members of the majority caucus will abide by this prayer. We are saying that if our request is not responded to positively, we will not be present for the budget hearing, neither we will participate in the debate. Thank you very much.
That is Andy Appiah-Kubi, who's the Asante Achim North constituency MP. Now, he says the majority will not be present for the budget hearing and the debate if their call is not responded to in a positive manner. Raymond, there are three things here, right?
Yeah.
Implications of this call for the parliamentary units, yeah?
Okay, so first, if they are not there for the budget hearing, it means that the budget will not be approved. It means that what happened, which was not supported by the majority, may have the support of the majority. This budget is extremely key. We will put in this budget our plan to go to the IMF. The IMF deal is mostly supposed to have the kind of support across the country. And Parliament is a very good end to actually get the support. So if the majority MPs are not willing to hear the finance minister or entertain government business, and more importantly, almost like rejecting the budget in their absence, because the expectation, if the minorities' conduct from the last budget reading is anything to go by, they may push for a rejection of this particular budget too. Imagine in that particular space, we would have a difficulty with that. Secondly, we would also have a current ongoing crisis because these are predominantly backbenchers, former deputy ministers standing there, people who have been in government before. So it's not only the pro-Kufuor side which actually could have been part of this. There are also people who have been adherents and be followers of the current president within the MPP divide in a much more stronger way, all pulling their weights behind this man. The question remains strong. Where is the leadership of the majority? Are these people, because no single leader of the majority is there. So obviously, the majority leader, the deputy, and the whips the whip system appears to have been broken completely. Is it that they implicitly support what they are doing, or there's a leadership breakdown within the majority in Parliament, and the implications are that when the leaders tell them to do one thing, they'll do the other thing. And it's going to create chaos in the Parliament on this particular front. That's how serious this is if it continues on that path. Because not only are they not entertaining business from that of the finance minister, it's a government business in all of its forms, which means that any other minister and the business of the majority in this Parliament is to relate predominantly to government business. If the people who will vote for it, 80 of them, and I've been saying that 80 is a majority within the majority caucus, almost 60%. Assuming they want to actually censure even the finance minister today, or they want the removal of the finance minister, and they get 136 or so from the minority side, they have enough numbers to actually vote for a censure of the finance minister or ask for his removal as minister in this republic. You see how serious this can get if they get a collaboration of the minority to agree to the very things that they are saying. And some minority MPs have actually done this before. They have issued a press statement saying that the finance minister must go too. So for the first time, it appears more than 2/3 of Parliament believe the finance minister ought to be removed if he fails to resign. That's how serious it is for Parliament and going forward. Now, look at the party that's currently seeking in the next 2 years contest election again. First and foremost, you see majority of the MPs complaining that things are not going well. How well will these MPs cooperate even in the various regions when it comes to ensuring that the party's message goes down very, very well? In the leadership contest, and these members of Parliament, they would also have to contest their various roles again. They'll go into primaries and all of that. If you oppose the finance minister and do not have the resources or do not have the support of central government, and by opposing the finance minister, if the president disagrees with you, the president continues to keep the finance minister there, you may be facing the president head on and opposing him. If you oppose the president here, should the president then allow you to win your parliamentary seat? We know what has happened to the likes of Esibe Yabua, who were seen not to be favorites of the president in times past. They lost their seat. So are these MPs all going to suffer a similar fate, or the people in their constituency will decide otherwise? So that's another massive turmoil in the political party structure if it's allowed to degenerate at that level. Then on the larger plane, this finance minister is currently sitting with the IMF, agreeing on engagements. If it is the decision of the MPs and the president agrees with that decision, it means that we have to replace him and somebody else ought to be leading our negotiations. And who would that person be? Yawosaf Mafo, a different person, somebody with experience with engaging the IMF. Some form of what they call retooling will be required. But as to whether that will be in the collective interest of the state or it will only be in the interest of the people that we are dealing with, it's also interesting. Anyway.
All right. So, Raymond, you say that this might have dire consequences for the governing party and the future of their leaders. But joining me on the line is Dr. Bafo Ajimandua, who's the former UN advisor professor on governance. Prof, thank you so much for your time. Good morning. Thank you so much for your time.
It's my pleasure.
Now, what do you make of all of this?
Pardon me?
I mean, okay, so 80 MPs, majority MPs are calling for the finance minister to be sacked. And we just heard from Andy Appiah, who's the Asante Achim North MP, who says if the president doesn't respond to their calls positively, they will not participate in the budget. They will not participate in the debate. So what do you make of all of this?
Well, first of all, this is unprecedented in our fourth republic. For that matter, any of the previous republics we've had. For such an overwhelming number of ruling party members of parliament, I mean, up to their president and demanding that a certain an important cabinet minister, such as the finance minister, must be sacked. You were to have a different political system, like the parliamentary system of the British. I'm sure a vote of confidence will have taken place in Parliament that will have compelled the Prime Minister. So this is really unprecedented. But you see, this is following many calls by not only MPs, members across the civil society groups have been calling for this change. And not that Mr. Kunupuriat has a past person. I think he's a good person, inherently, and I think he's done the best. But second, if you look at the way the economy has been nosediving over the past several months, years, then certainly a change is necessary. And not long ago, I think a week or so ago, the president was in Kumasi still resisting this popular call. So this revolt, this in fact what I consider to be an internal revolt within the NPP. Such a revolt may compel the president, and I think if he does not accede to this, it can have some serious political consequences. And as I say, it's a very unprecedented, very interesting development in our political history. All
right, so Prof, Professor Ajimandua, thank you so much for your time. Well, on the bit of the pressure on the president, Raymond, to sack the finance minister, here at JoyNews, we put together the following news desk capturing the mood of key personalities, including some men of God, expressing their frustration about the harsh economy. Now, a minimum of 14 cedis is needed to get $1, and experts fear the situation could worsen this week. Let's check out this report.
We are not going to the IMF. Whatever we do, we are not.
Mr. Foriata has been under pressure since government opted for an IMF program. He, however, continues to enjoy support from President Akufo-Addo.
I came to office in 2017 under an IMF program, which Emmanuel Biden said, stringent program. This same man was able to manage the affairs of our economy in such a way that the first 4 years of my first term, we were one of the fastest growing economies in the world, an average growth rate of 7% a year from the beginnings of an IMF program.
Economist Professor Godfred Bokpin ever say he lacks the capacity to continue to lead the negotiations with the IMF.
Anytime we are outside an IMF program, the fund, the development partners, they are a bit lenient with their comments, more diplomatic. But when you come under a program, you've lost your bargaining power. So you see how they are coming hard at us now. They are asking you to prove this.
Show proof, yeah.
So last year you were not under any program, so they could understand your assumptions you can explain that, oh, how about this debt? Oh, you know, this is ring fence, this is that, this is this is that. But right now, they are saying everything must come on board. So especially when you check in such a vulnerable state, you don't have, you can't negotiate from position of strength. We shouldn't have gotten ourselves in this place. To come out of this, as I said, what the market is looking for is that bold decision from the government that says that, look, and it may have to be a bit radical, which means that you are sacrificing your interest and the interest of your inner core and your political party for the common good. Other than that, if you tell me that these people have performed excellently, then probably it will be for reasons not for the common good.
A view shared by some men of the pulpit.
But wrong is wrong. When you are wrong, I need to look in your eyes and tell you, you are wrong. That is what is killing this nation. This is the time, Your Excellency, to make changes. And that changes must be to the honor and glory of God. Our finance minister, who even though is a Christian, have failed miserably. And I am telling Your Excellency, with all due respect, this is the time to make drastic changes. We cannot sit here when $1 is equal to 12 cedis. 12 cedis!
Milk, which was 2 Ghana cedis, now 8, 7. How would a mother buy milk and put in a tea or porridge for her children? In less than 24 hours, our cedi had depreciated against the dollar from 1390 to 15,000. It's 15. It's now 16. Recently, the vice president arrested a cedi and locked it. Is it the dollar or the cedi? The dollar. The dollar, and locked the dollar up. I hear the dollar has broken jail.
Talking about breaking, the MPP wants to break the 8, right? Patrick Yabwama said, I mean, he doesn't really believe in breaking the 8, he believes in successive wins.
Yes.
Yeah. So, majority is asking for the finance minister to be sacked. What does this mean for the minority?
One of the key ways of showing in politics that you are remorseful and that you are taking a turn and changing ways is actually having to relieve of a position. So that, see, watch it this way. If the finance minister is sacked, he gets blamed for all that's happening in the economy. So you save the party, you save the government from the responses that people are giving to it now. So it's almost like a very wonderful tool in the toolbox for presidents to use when there's crisis.
Okay.
And we are in crisis of very different forms. But underpinning that is the political crisis of whether or not this party can present a formidable future candidate going into the next election and win the next election.
Okay.
Because of the current crisis that we are in, economic issues have always influenced our elections.
Okay.
In very, very forms. So if there's an indication now to the people that the man who is basically taking us into this mess is being removed, there's a different posturing. Even the opposition party may not be able to use it so well against the current government because they'll say that no, but the guy got removed. And we brought in a different person who's changed course. So now we are on the right path to delivering on the goals that we are supposed to give you. I hope you get the point.
So would we say that this is a trick under their sleeves to help them break the 8?
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So it's two forms. On one hand, it could be if it's managed properly. On the other hand, it has been suggested to the executive president of this republic that change the finance minister on so many different platforms. But that has not happened. In fact, he chooses every opportunity to not only defend him, but also tout his laurels. A man in the previous term, he did very well. He took us out of the IMF. He actually achieved 7% GDP growth rate. He's actually the guy who gave us the single-digit inflation for the period that we dealt with. So you get the point. The president is solidly behind the man. That is where the coalition will be. Whose interest will be sidestepped here? Will the president put the interest of the party first? And will that mean he removing Ken Ofori-Atta? Because there's also the discussion that the Minister of State at the presidency, Charles Edubwai, equally should go with Ken Ofori-Atta. AFAC made the same point. In fact, it's been suggested by these majority MPs too. If the president is mindful that there's more unity required, these MPs will represent me across the country, and they need to do more to make sure that the MPP is not made to look like the country is being filled by the party. The removal of Ken Ofori-Atta may help that. On the other side, what would you say about the president's consistent defense of the man? Was the president properly informed? Was it misinformed? Was he wrong when he was consistently saying that he was delivering? So there are several issues on the board.
Yeah.
It will take a lot of finesse and a lot of engagement to come to the conclusion that this is really what to do. Ideally, it's either you're putting party first and government first, or you are putting the nation first. But it could also be all three at a go. Which single decision can meet all the goals? And to many people, having to relieve them out of the position will not only send a signal that you are willing to listen to people when they advise you as government, but also send a signal that we are changing what's happening in the economy, and the new face is likely to deliver more.
Head of the research desk, Raymond Akwa, with some analysis. Sack Ken Ofori-Atta, majority MPs tell Akufo-Addo. And if you go to Twitter, at number 2, Ken Ofori-Atta is trending. Also at number 4, Finance Minister is trending. This is Joy News Desk. I'm Mapitso Sebidi. For more news, you can log on to myjoyonline.com. We will be giving you more on this story at 12 o'clock on Joy News today.